Hello, my name is Kathy Jameson, the Proposition Lady, and today I'm going to talk about the passage of Proposition 1 in March of 2024, enacting the Behavioral Health Services Program and Bond Measure. Prop 1 passed by the slimmest of margins. 50.2% of Californians voted yes. If you sometimes think your vote doesn't matter, think again. It passed by only 26,000 votes, which is why it took 2 full weeks to figure out the winner. Proponents of Prop 1 raised $21 million and flooded the airwaves with ads. Opponents of the measure only raised $1,000, but they still put up a pretty good fight. So what happens now? Let's review what Prop 1 will do now that it has passed. As a reminder, in 2004, voters passed the Mental Health Services Act. This increased by 1% the tax on income over $1 million and devoted that money to mental health services. The MHSA has been in place for the last 20 years, but it hasn't been enough to stem the tide of homelessness in California. Prop 1 renames the Mental Health Services Act the Behavioral Health Services Act and expands its purpose to include substance use disorders, including for persons without a mental illness. Note the shift in terminology from mental health to behavioral health, signaling the expansion of funding for substance abuse. Prop 1 also changes how revenue from the 1% tax on income above $1 million is spent, including a requirement that 30% of the Behavioral Health Services Fund be allocated to housing intervention. This expands the use of the funding to include housing intervention, as opposed to just mental health services. It also shifts 5%, or roughly $140 million, from counties to the state. That means the state will be able to offer more services, but counties may have to cut some of the programs they are funding now. Some of the money will also fund California's new civil care courts, established in the fall of 2023 to create the possibility for mental health intervention outside of the criminal justice system. And it issues $6.38 billion in bonds to fund housing for homeless individuals and veterans, including up to $4.4 billion for mental health care and $2 billion for housing for homeless persons. The Legislative Analyst's Office estimates the interest on this bond will cost California about $310 million per year over a 30-year period. That money will be used to build housing and increase mental health services across the state. With increased funding for mental health, substance abuse, and housing intervention, proponents of Prop 1 hope to make an impact on the housing crisis and create more positive outcomes for those in crisis. Will it work? It will be years before we know for sure. I'm Kathy Jameson, the Proposition Lady, and I appreciate you being here with me today. See you soon, California voters. Bye now!